Are you kidding me? That's what?
Yeah, every so often it happens that Ryan is right.
100% right. Not even a little bit right.
This game.
No kidding.
My man!
Hey, neither does me running shirtless, but that turned out very well.
Welcome to the PP1 podcast.
Yeah, that's about it.
But it also could have gone
Okay.
that way. Could have easily have gone
Okay.
that way. Welcome to the show we like to call the PP1 podcast, the playoff post-game show. Lots of PPs, lots of post-game, lots of emotions, lots of things to talk about. Your Vancouver Canucks, my Vancouver Canucks, Teddy's Vancouver Canucks somehow sold their souls to go up 3-1 in this. Like, that's the only thing that makes sense, because that game was absolute dog food. It was one of the worst Canucks games that I can remember since, I mean, there was definitely a game in the regular season that looked like that. Uninspired after that first goal. Like, Brock was on a heater, but we'll get that in 2 seconds. Uninspired for most of this game. They looked like they couldn't put a pass together, couldn't put a shift together, looked like they were trying to get away from hits. They looked awful. Like,
That didn't look great.
No, it was. They had no business still being in that game as late as they were. And then out of nowhere, Rick Tocchet's like, guys, I sold my soul for this one. Empty the net. Besser scores. Awesome goal. Okay, but whatever. And then they do it one more time. Brock gets the hat trick. Somehow the Canucks are in overtime. So I don't even. Yeah, I can't.
It's just wild, right? I mean, how many times have we seen, not so much in the last 10 years or so, but some really good Canucks teams from the early 2010s, and this team with a crazy amount of offense to start the season, where they would be playing teams and just absolutely dominating them. And I'm talking about Vancouver, and somehow a team is just hanging around.
Mm-hmm.
With just a goal or two away from just like taking over the game, which they have no business winning. So it was really weird to see them the sort of role reverse a little bit and flip, especially for this season, right? I mean, you're right. I mean, just no business, being in this game at all. And if you can find the ways to win when you don't seemingly deserve to win games, because you're going to lose ones that you deserve to win as well, right? I mean, you have to find a way to sort of creep these ones in there. But teams that go far in the playoffs are the ones that win games that they're not necessarily supposed to, right? I mean, it's not just putting away the games that you're supposed to win, because that's not all of them, right? I mean, teams are tough to play against, and this was that, man. Like, this was our buddy Steve Fisher said it already, right? It's Brock's world, man. We're all just living in it. And this was his game as much as it was, Hughes in prior games or JT coming up big in game 3, right? I mean, this was Brock's game. This was his playoff coming out party. And just like that, the guy is, leading goal scorer on the squad right now heading into the playoffs. And he's played 22 minutes this game. What a player, man. What an ankle breaking move by Hughes.
Oh my gosh.
There's so much to recap on this.
It kind of gets that I had to see the replay on that goal to remember that happened, because I was so lost in the moment, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Quinn Hughes, just like, because he was kind of invisible for a good chunk of the game too.
Yeah, I mean, so much pressure, and they talked about it in the intermission, right? I mean, you hear footsteps coming after you get hammered, against the boards on a forecheck that often, right? I mean, and it's not like, Nyquist, they talked about, it's not like a huge physical player that's come, but you hear footsteps and instantly you're concerned. But the amount of resolve that he has to take the puck and hold on to it and then make that move, towards the wall and just sidestep him. It was that moment when Jordan pulls the crossover and you see the defender just like fly by and you're like, oh my freaking God. And that's what happened in that play. Before, going down low and then ultimately finding Besser to score that goal. But it's like I tweeted, right? Holy fucking shitballs, man. That was craziness, absolute craziness.
Can I show you something quickly?
Please.
And it gets knocked in a neutral zone. And Hughes doesn't want to commit, knowing there's another player coming down the slot.
There's
It
no way
was
that
over
went for us. There's no way that went for us. That was the Patrick Stefan.
No, it's not
I'm
that
just kidding.
bad.
I'm just
No,
But that decided, like that was
the moment.
it. And then, do you want to see? I got one more for you.
Yeah, please. Let's have it.
Here's Pedersen. Miller shoots. Tipped on goal. Rebound. Besser scores. A hat trick. Brock Besser. And the Canucks have tied the game with 6.2 seconds remaining in regulation.
I don't have any others ones after that.
And thank goodness, right? I mean, my biggest worry when Miller got the puck was that he's going to whip it around and try to pass it again. And like, we just need to put this on net here. Like, I'm screaming, and I'm not ever a scream shoot guy, but I'm like, please just put it on net, right? And you can see if you rewatch that play a couple of times, right? You can see Besser down low, sort of just lurking and waiting for that spot to just get his hands on a puck to just bury it. And that's exactly what happened. Just
man. And off the post.
One more quick point about that whole play was shades of Zdeno Chara, Big Z, coming on the ice to play net front. Like, how we've talked about that a couple of times this year. Like, can we not see a Myers in front of the net, please? Or can we not see a Zadorov in front of the net, a la Boston and Zdeno Chara? Like,
so do you see
the guys, right?
5? Do you see that in Game 5?
Why not? Why not? I mean, we just like Chara, just like Bufflin, right? Playing in those Chicago series, right? Yes. Why not? Like, I guarantee you the Preds hate Zdeno Chara. Like, absolutely hate him. He's just lurking. Sorry, Zadorov. He's lurking, or what did I say? Did I say Chara?
Sure.
Oh, wow. He's just lurking around like that D zone and like just annihilating guys who want to gain the zone, right? Fine, gain the zone, dump the puck. I'm still going to squash you. And he's just like the shark, right? Just predatory hits. And it's funny because it's against the Preds, but to move him to the front like that, he's a big guy. He's got some good hands. You know what I mean? He obviously knows what he's doing out there, but what a fun play. I think that just adds a little bit of something extra to possession for the squad. And that's a guy that can just hurt you, I think. Right. So why not have just that mammoth size in front of the net?
So I got two things. One, first of all, Besser hits the side of the post just before he ties it. And we're all thinking it like that was the choice. That was the chance right there. That was it. And it's over. And that's it.
That's it.
And then the pullback. I mean, man, I think we're getting our money's worth out of the redemption tour Brock Besser post this year. I love posting that thing because it warms my heart every single time.
Did you post it again? You should post it again.
I posted it from our account, from my account. That is some of my best work, and I feel that it's representative of what Brock Besser deserves to be celebrated as. Because you guys have listened and watched this show. I have been one of the first people, especially last season, to say, like, maybe it's time we have to finally move on, and he gets a new start somewhere else, and we try to get value for him. I was all for it because
I think they would have done that.
Yeah,
and they could have, but nobody wanted him.
Now, like, not only did he have, he had a really big regular season because he was healthy, but man, Brock Besser's going ham in this series, and he's doing it, I would say, quietly, because he's the finisher. He's not doing all the other stuff, but he's making them pay when he gets his opportunities.
Yeah, it's 22 and a half minutes in ice time, 3 shots, 3 goals.
It's pretty good.
Or sorry, 8 shots, 3 goals. Like,
pretty good.
Yeah, finding a way to get pucks on net, right? I mean, and I think, did Saros get a piece of that? I feel like he got a piece of 2 out of the 3. But he got, not only was he
one, I think, kind of went through him.
Yeah, not only is he open in the right spots to make these plays. Those are high end plays, right? To be able to finish and get it up and over like a sprawling Saros who's known for being quick across, right? And putting it where it needs to be. Again, the calmness to be able to go dig it off the post, go backhand to forehand, like you said, and then bury it again. Like, just wow, man. Just wow.
I wanted to talk about our good friend, Philip Hronek, because he's still been fairly, I'm just editing our ticker for a second here. But we talk about Zadorov and we talk about Hronek. And I mean, he needs to get back in this series because Quinn's starting to get beat up a lot. And we need to see another guy off, like a talented offensive guy, step up. And I think just to take some of that pressure off. But I mean, the longer this goes, I mean, we're going to need to see him step up. That's what he was brought in here for. I mean, we keep talking about Zadorov, but I mean, I want to talk about Phil Peronic, but it's not happening. Like, I'm forcing a topic here, but I mean, he doesn't deserve, a whole lot of chat.
I mean, I don't think he's playing. I mean, I'm just looking at the ice times here. I mean, top minute muncher is Hughes in this scenario. It wasn't the case last game. He's back on top of the totem pool this time. Yeah. Number 2 minutes behind him, Big Z.
Yep.
And then shortly after that, Myers. So the big right-handed minutes are being taken over by Myers in this case. We know that Hughes sat on a couple of shifts as well. Hronek went out there once without him, but you have Susie, Cole, and Hronek all hanging around the minute and a half or 17 and a half to 18 minute mark.
Yeah.
He still does a lot of things right. Like, he does a lot of things correctly, right? He's still stout defensively. I think he moves the puck well. He still breaks it out. He's still calm with it, and he's a right-handed defender. He's still the best right-handed defender on this team overall, right? But yeah, it's not just him, right? I mean,
there's a few guys
needing more from just about everybody. So I don't
except for this guy. Oh, wrong way. Who am I talking about? Who's this guy? The dog himself.
The dog
the second play, the second spinny move. Who does he get it to? He gets it to Elias Lindholm to score the G-dub. Connor Garland, that's the second time he's made that play. The first one was to Joshua in game 1 on the other side. And just like first after everybody's like absolutely losing their minds and they show the replay and you have enough time to reset your emotions. And then you look and you're like, of course it's Connor Garland. Of course it is.
It was 81 to 9 to 23. Like, exactly, like that's our third line. And how many times do we talk about this heading into the playoffs and just before that, if this team is going to do anything in the playoffs, it's going to be done on the work of this third line. And we were at the time thinking that it was going to be Teddy Bluger hanging out on that 3C spot. And things didn't work out for Lindholm early on, playing up in the top 2 lines. He gets bumped down to that 3C spot. Okay, that's a really good fail safe, and lo and behold, he's looked really good in these playoffs. I mean, when they've looked bad, he's looked bad just like the rest of them. But he is such a responsible, third line center in this scenario that we have to sort of appreciate what he's doing, right? I mean, there's no way that we'd see Kuzmenko in that mold defending pucks and doing what he does. So for that play to shake down to it did Joshua, Garland, Lindholm. Like, that's literally all you need to know.
That's no shade to Kuzmenko. I mean, that's
not at all. It's just it's a completely different role. Where would this team be without center depth that they desperately needed, right? And especially now that our other guy, right, that Elias is not performing where we need him to be. If we're going to win series, generally you need them, right? So, Pettersson isn't doing what we need him to do, and Miller's played great, and Lindholm is really contributing well as too, and without that, if we don't have the center depth that we get from the Kuzmenko trade, like, this team is in serious trouble.
I'm just
paying dividends now.
Oh, he was kind of quiet too, but I mean, I guess it's one of those, like, the coach just trusts you and that play just happened. So I'm just looking for the game winner.
Just getting dumped on a little bit, like, kind of like in the whole Mikheyev thing about when he's not putting up points, like, what are we trading for? But this guy just handles his business from the defensive side, and so does Mikheyev. And I think you have to have those guys.
Mm-hmm. So this is a rule, I'm pretty sure, when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs. What's the rule, Ted? You either score in the first minute or you score in the last minute of the period in overtime. And it's almost to a T that is true. This Washington-New York game is interesting. Almost to a T. 1 minute and 2 seconds into overtime, the Canucks shock the world, and go up. I was watching the Dallas-Vegas game last night. Now, that one wasn't in the first or last, but it was definitely closer to the end of the game, and Dallas closes it out. When it comes to overtime in the playoffs, because we've seen so many of these long ones go, which is always fun, but that you either get it early or you're going to watch a lot of back and forth it's like watching 3-on-3, right? Just like, it's your turn to have possession. Now it's our turn. Now it's your turn. Now it's our turn. And the Canucks, I mean, they shocked. I mean, they shocked you and I. Let's be honest. This game was so awful. It was terrible in so many ways. Check our Twitter, check yours, check the group chats, check all your group chats at home. This game was so bad. They deserved 0 of it. And then out of nowhere, they rope-a-dope.
It was a true rope-a-dope.
It was like, it was the ropest they ever dopest. And yeah, 58 minutes. And then out of nowhere, they come up with like the perfect set piece. It was like watching Germany play in the World Cup. It was like watching, Manchester City. It's watching Messi in Argentina. Just out of nowhere, this perfect set piece. And it went in. And like I said, if we all just take a step back for a second, that play just isn't surprising. Like that play, they've done it a bunch. And it was done to perfection.
Yeah, it's a little bit surprising because it's like, goalies pulled, trouble sort of settling the puck down, getting possession, an extra pass where you think there's going to be a shot. Finally, we get a shot. It goes on net. They find Besser, hits the post, and then you're like, this is it. This is how it ends. Gets it back, and you're like, oh, okay, we have a chance here. Gets it to his forehand. No, things like this don't happen to us. And then bam, like lo and behold, puck's in the back of the net. Besser's doing the big celly. Team's loving it. Half the bench runs to Seelovs. The other half of the bench runs to Besser. And it's just like golden moment, baby. That was just history. I loved it.
Yeah. And Grant's bringing up PG. I liked his game tonight too.
Just fine.
He was one of the few. He was one of the, like Pia Suter. I really liked his game tonight. I thought he had some great chances. I think the Canucks, like, for the puck luck that they did get, I'm not talking about the goals, but there were some opportunities where they actually could have changed that game. And I think it was in the second period where they gloved it down and created like that one chance. Or yeah, where Miller plays it back to, was it to Suter, I think, when he crashes the net there.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, these kind of plays don't happen very often with this team. And they almost closed it out on that play. So, like, there were opportunities where the Canucks actually could have just silenced the crowd completely and, just didn't go their way. And, like, it just makes no sense how it all shook out. My dad texted me. We had lunch together today, and we found out, as many of us did, that Seelovs was starting. And I get this text after the game, and he goes, "You got to believe." And if you guys know my dad, like, he's like the Canucks longer than I have, but very low key dude. He's not as vibrant as I am, but he knows how to push the buttons, and I could just see him grinning as he sent that text because
I was talking to a guy at work and about the fact that Seelovs was going to have to be called up when Demko went down, and thinking to myself, like, is it possible that we're going to see Seelovs in this series start over, Casey DeSmith? And that game against Edmonton obviously gave Casey extra weight to get the start. His game looked back on track, and then he plays in, the last two games and largely, wasn't the reason we lost game 3, but was part of the reason why we won game 2, right? Or game 4, right? So sorry, game 3. So we wake up, we hear this news about Seelovs, and I'm not worried about it. I'm really not. I if anything, he's kind of like a little mini Demko clone in the way that that Ian Clark coaches these goaltenders, right? He wants a big guy who's athletic and has like rare instincts. And that's all the things that Seelovs has. And to go further than that, we know more about Tolopilo from that perspective too, right? So, these guys have all, like, they've all had time to work with Ian Clark because the team is right in Abbotsford. He spends additional time with the goaltenders that normally you wouldn't spend if they were all the way out in Utica, traveling, working with goaltending coaches that are down on the farm. So I feel so much more confident about this type of stuff in the depth than we did back when it was, Martin and so on and so forth. Delia, like, guys that really just had no business being in here, and having the time to spend with, this program is like, obviously, it continues to just be a goalie manufacturing plant. Like, wow. Unreal.
Yeah. I think we talked about this when they decided Casey DeSmith was starting game 2. And I'm sure we brought this up. Like, they put in DeSmith because, I mean, he's the guy they brought in to be the backup, to be,
he's been the guy all year. Yeah.
To be the spell to Demko. Right. But at the same time, I know we've had this conversation where, like, Seelovs hasn't had the the games to kind of get under his belt. But I mean, there's enough that we know about him. And I mean, Elliot Friedman brought it up in the broadcast. We know a ton about him already. It's not he's not an unknown quantity here. We know that, I mean, the guy won the world championships for Latvia. I'm sorry, but Latvia isn't exactly like a world power. And he looked like he was the MVP of the tournament, was he not?
He was, hell of a player. Played an unreal tournament.
So he comes into this Canucks roster a few times this year, and it's almost like I remember we had chatted about it, that it's not like he doesn't deserve the net. You know, just based on how the hierarchy of things work and whatever, you put in Casey DeSmith because he's the guy that you believed in first, and you know it's only fair to be playing the guy that's his actual job, is to be the backup. But I mean, as soon as we found out Shelovs was in today, I'm like, all right, well, if the team ahead of him plays the way they're supposed to, again, he's a non-issue, and he had a phenomenal game. Like, he really did. I mean, the first goal, the one off the skate, like, there's some unfortunate stuff too, and there's the one that went in. But I mean, as a whole, he wasn't the reason they would have lost this game.
No, and Grant says in the chat, right? Funny, Silas hasn't crazy impressed me when I've been in the Abbotsford Canucks game this year, but he's been solid, right? And I think that's all you can ask for when you're having your goalie step in like that. You don't want these crazy highs and lows, and the players don't necessarily want that either. And well, yeah, you have to have that ability to stand on your head when a flurry of shots comes your way. You'd way rather sort of just have that consistency level and that calmness and the scramble only when it needs to be there, right? And
yeah,
his game looked very fluid and very, like, you know, almost like he was programmed, right? I mean, you really need that. And the good thing is that, you know, we were joking around with Neil, the guy from work, was like, you know, so CLLs will be day to day after game 4. You know what I mean? I mean, we have like, just go down to the next guy. Tolopilo, you're on deck, right? Like,
yeah.
And there's another really consistent player. And I know, like, in talking to Grant a little while before and a couple other buddies who live in the Abbotsford area, and it's like they both got to the same level, right? I think one's hanging out like a 905 save percentage or something like that, and one's 908 or whatever, almost identical, very close in the amount of wins and losses, game starts, all of these things. And it seems like Tolopilo has sort of been the more like consistent guy all the way through, and that Seelovs has had these peaks and valleys, maybe winning games that he wasn't supposed to win, but losing games that maybe he was supposed to win.
Yeah.
But it's all evening out, right? It's all culminating to this time and this spot, and all these people are sort of pulling on the same rope right now. And even though it was ugly, I think they're sort of still sticking to the game plan, which helps. And you have to sort of have some resolve to win a game like that.
Grant looking like the next Chris Faber, just telling us everything we need to know about Tolopilo.
Yeah, he's our scouting. Yeah, he's our Abbey scouting guy.
Yeah, when Corey Hergott's not available and Chris Faber's not available, like, we got Grant.
Yeah,
everybody give Grant a follow. He's good people. Speaking of good people, I've been DMing with our boy Jimmy Mitchell out on the coast there. Looks like he's going to be making a trip up here soon, so we're going to have a PP1 hookup with our boy Jimmy. He gets lots of shout outs on Donnie and Dolly too. So almost got
the hookup with Grant when he came into town, but the trip didn't work out. But that would have been a lot of fun.
You know what? It's we got a long summer. It's there's going to be lots to talk about. Let's recap. I mean, obviously, if you're tuning into our show, you're fully aware about the Canucks and what happened today, but the Canucks did somehow win 4-3 against Nashville. No business winning that game whatsoever. I just got what did I think, was it the company account? Should I call it that?
Oh, they gave you the company credit card?
I think so. It says so our boy Witt on our account here, I said this was an hour. I said nurse your wounds. This was before they scored any of the goals. Nurse your wounds and come back for game 5. This sucks. Witt tweets back, come again? I said I stand corrected. So the game had no soul whatsoever. I wish it had a spider soul, that's for sure. And it just I'm still so shocked. Like, Christine and I are on the couch watching the game, and like the look of just being stunned, the look of amazement on both of our faces. Like, I went and just like shook her hands, and she's like, we're looking at you. I'm like, what is going on? Because It was just like she was on the couch sleeping for most of the game.
Oh, you probably scared the shit out of her, eh?
Well, no, they didn't score until she was awake again.
Oh, okay.
It's really frustrating as a fan because we've seen this story so many times, usually the regular season, and they just totally rewrote the game. Like they basically hacked in, rewrote the code, and said, no, this is actually what's going to happen. And I mean, believe it or not, folks, the Canucks are up 3-1 in this series. It has not been fun, just like the last time they played Nashville in the playoffs. This has been, I mean, your name says it all, Game 4 stress case. Like this, it has been an absolute just suck series. And yet they're 60 minutes away with a lead from going to the second round. And saying that out loud still doesn't seem right.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Like these last two games, like I would be irate, pissed if I was Nashville right now. Pissed.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way she goes, right? Now the Canucks got to find a way to get their game together because playing like this and winning a series in this fashion is like playing with fire. Like you're running with a jar of nitroglycerin. Like,
ooh, we should
chill out, figure it out, get your game back on track because right now you're being saved by your third line, some handsome fella with a full head of hair, and JT Miller.
He's so
like gorgeous. We need to just get things sorted out. This team needs to just get it dialed in and count yourselves lucky for being in this spot right now.
So there's a couple things that we don't have to go too long. It's Sunday. We got a life. There's two things I want to get into before we leave here. One, Quinn Hughes and where he's at in the series physically, because it sure looks like he's starting to be, I mean, he just pulls stuff out of nowhere, it seems, but he sure looks like, yeah, the kid in the crowd. That was, yes. I'm reading what Grant just wrote in the chat. Yeah. Absolutely. He sure looks like he is playing a little, not scared, but he's definitely thinking about stuff.
He doesn't feel untouchable. Like I think he's felt for the majority of the season. I think players are taking liberties with him. They're attacking him, 2 men at a time. Sometimes they're just being double teamed down low, get in, get help. Right. And for the first time in, I think his career, he looks catchable. Right?
Yeah.
So he's got to find a way to elevate past that.
So the second part, it's kind of a 2-part system. Maybe it's not. The McCarron thing, he's getting that close to becoming something in this series, I feel. Like he had his boneheaded move. Was it game 1 or game 2?
Where you're talking about the hit on DeSmith?
There was that, but he took a penalty in game 1, I thought, too. Like he's this close to becoming a factor in the series, I feel. Like he's not, but you know how that guy, like the Furlins and the Bufflins, like he's one of those guys, John Scott. He's really close, I feel, to like actually meaning something in the series. And I think the Canucks need to neutralize that personally. That's my thought on that.
Yeah, I mean, I see just before we walked in here, I was watching, the Caps are playing the Rangers, and two shifts now I've tuned into that game, and I've seen Matt Rempel on the ice when Ovechkin's out there.
Yeah.
Like why, like, how do you not score when Rempel's out there? Like if they literally have so little respect for Ovechkin, who hasn't had the greatest season, has looked very human this year, that they're willing to just have Rempel out there against them. And I think if you're Ovi, you got to find a way to just find any of that experience and draw from it and just be able to score when a guy like that is on the ice. And McCarron, I feel like, is a guy that like the Canucks should be able to find a way to sort of expose a little bit, right? So
yeah,
they haven't done that. You're right. He's teetering on the edge of being able to have an impact on this game. And I just don't want that. I don't want that to play a role, to be a factor, right? I mean,
we like I said, there's so many things that have factored into a Canucks playoff run or a lack of one. And he's one of those guys that, I mean, I don't want them focusing on him fully, but like,
not at all.
Make it an issue early. Like take Z out there and just crush him once.
More Zadorov in front of the net, please.
Or that, just whatever.
more of that, please.
Yeah, just play him up front for a game. I don't know, or at least on the power play. Just power play alone would be great. But anyway, final thing, Elias Pettersson, milk carton.
Yeah,
Like that's
Yeah, man, I don't know. He's not scoring. He's still doing things defensively again, right? And he's still making the correct play with the puck. But he's missing that killer instinct, man. He is thinking about it, and I don't want to say it's Nashville that's in his head, but he's in his head, and he has been for the last like month and a bit here. He's got to find a way to get going again.
Did you see the clip? They showed it during, I think, intermission of him like doing the one-timers in practice yesterday. Did you see that clip?
No.
So it was just him, and I think it was Talkett, and just feeding him the puck on like the one-timers, and like he was putting them in, but it really just like it looked like a chore to him.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because he never looks like he's trying that hard anyways. And that's sort of the kind of player he is. And it has nothing to do with work ethic because we know it's first class.
Yeah.
Right. But he doesn't have this urgency at all times in his game. And I don't think he shows emotion on his face at all. So I think sometimes for better or for worse, I think you get a bit of a bad rep sometimes, even though he doesn't have to do things with a crazy amount of urgency to get things done. Right. And when it's going good, it's fine. Look how cerebral that player is, right?
Yeah.
And then when it's not going good, people instantly point to how hard are you working? How hard are you trying? How bad do you want it? And if those things don't show up on his face when things are going good, they're not going to show up on his face when things are going bad. So I don't know what it is, but it's not due to lack of effort or being disinterested. I really feel like he's in his head. And, you know, Grant makes a good point in here that if we do find a way to advance that, you know, he's going to find his best in him to match up against a guy like McDavid. Maybe that's the competitive boost that he needs.
He needs to match up against someone, you think?
Well, maybe he just has to be pushed over the edge on something. Maybe he just has to, you know, come to the rink for an additional reason. And if this isn't enough to get up, then I don't know what else is going to make you get up. But yeah, he's got to find his game. He's got to start to dial it in a little bit more. And if it might not happen all at once, you know, similar to Lindholm, but start to get back into doing those good habits and seeing more consistency from your game and seeing you 4 or 5 times a game instead of 2 or 3 times a game and so on and so forth before that. And then before you know it, he could just get rolling and then we'll all just be on cloud 9 because of it.
He's just the kind of guy that he can take over a series so quickly.
Yeah.
And like so quickly. And like it doesn't take much and he becomes the best player on the team again. Like,
yeah.
We can let JT Miller and Brock Besser kind of slide down and Quinn Hughes because, I mean, an elusive Elias Pettersson is so dangerous. Like he's proven it. Like don't
elusive and also powerful. Like
don't let him have an opportunity because when you get back to that, like he does bury you. He's an incredible player, and I think that's where the frustration is knowing that that's in there. Like it's
absolutely
it's like Peter Pan. It's like Hook, right? You know, there you are, Peter. Like he's in there. We just got maybe it's Peterson.
You're doing it, Peter. You're doing it, Peter.
Yeah. So maybe we just need we need a Rufio.
Yeah.
Petey needs a Rufio, not a roofie, a Rufio. Because that would be weird. But he needs something like that. Yeah, and the pushback after they scored the goal and like absolute gang tackled. I don't know how there wasn't a call there. Like
I don't know. It's not a call.
You don't think so?
No, it's not a call. It's just shit going on inside the game. And I wanted to talk about that too. And we didn't spend a lot of time on, but the refs did a really good job in this game of not just ruining it. It was already a bad game, but they let some of the physical stuff go and they didn't sort of insert themselves into the storyline of the game. The talk of the refs was almost, nil, right? It was.
I mean, Nashville was chanting their name for, a whole TV timeout. So, I mean, Nashville clearly loved the referees. They don't love them anymore.
Yeah, no.
Oh, man. We're going to have to, I think, forget the stanchion. Someone needs to have the Post as their Twitter handle.
Yeah, I mean, we've watched a lot of Colton Sissons games before. He's
in Kelowna too.
Kelowna Rockets captain, right? I mean, we didn't know what kind of an NHLer this guy was going to be. He's very solid. I mean, those are plays that he makes, and that should have gone in, and that would have been it, man. And I think, Biz Nasty tweeted the same thing. Like the game was over.
Yeah.
And somehow in a span of about 4 minutes, the Canucks are up 3-1. What else do you need to end on?
Let's leave it at that. This has been This has been not the show I was expecting. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to lure you
The
in.
show it was definitely a show we needed. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's Canucks Nation's going to sleep good tonight. Maybe not. Maybe they're going to still be frustrated that
I got to come down.
It's I'm going to go for a walk. Maybe go get the mail. It's a tough one to understand, to believe, but regardless, they are up 3-1 in the series. We will do a post game. Hopefully Ted's there with me on Tuesday, win or lose, because everyone else is doing it and we don't want to be left out. And who knows, maybe we'll have a fun guest. I'm trying to lure a few people onto the show for Tuesday, so we'll see what happens. We've got some promise of a few people, hopefully. But even if we don't, this is a good place to be. Grant, thanks for coming by. We really appreciate it. For everybody that is watching and not commenting, that's okay too. We do appreciate that you guys came out to watch this. We have a lot of fun. I mean, this has been one of those seasons where, I don't know, out of nowhere, this has become pretty important. So hopefully it continues to be important down the stretch here. So anyway, on behalf of Game 4 Stress Case and Playoff Towel Merchant, this is the PP1 Podcast Playoffs post-game show on the Hockey Podcast Network, also presented with DraftKings Sportsbook app, promo code THPN. Go Canucks, go, folks, and hopefully they continue to go Canucks, go. Peace out.
Let's go.